Alright, going a little test drive on the 2013 Scion FR-S we bought back in August. This car's been a lot of fun. Really quite enjoyed it. It's really good at going around corners, accelerating really well. So we're going to do a 0 to 60 test right off the bat. Turn that off. Shut it off. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. That didn't work. I'm going to do a 0 to 60 test. I don't really know the pedal dance that well, so I'm going to fake it and just turn everything off as best I can. Alright, so I've been playing with the AIM Solo a lot, and I did some testing earlier today with a picture-in-picture dual camera setup, so I'm going to play with that a little bit. Let's try a launch at like 2,500 for a 0 to 60 test. Oh, that was terrible. Let's start that over. I don't think that's going to work. An 8-second 0 to 60, 8.06. So, a truck I tested earlier today, a 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive Suburban, was 8.99. So that's pretty sad. Kind of give you some idea of how slow these cars are. But as gutless as this FR-S is, it's still quite a lot of fun to drive. I can't really explain it. But you can really throw the car around, just drive like a total hoon. And it just works, you know? I don't know, it's a lot of fun to drive. Looks like the bank is closed. Well, yeah, this car's a lot of fun. I can't really explain it other than it's just a light, nimble car. I don't think people really give this car a chance. They haven't sold in huge numbers. They've sold well enough. People still go right to the Miata as the answer to the little lightweight, flingable rear-wheel drive sports car. And you know what? I think the Miata's got a lot of downsides to it. I think the fact that Miata doesn't have a roof is a pretty big detriment. You can never make a convertible as taut and as rigid as this chassis. This is a really lightweight. This car weighed 2,634 pounds soaking wet when we bought it. And it's got a 6-speed, it's got a 200 horsepower engine, and it's quite a lot of fun to throw around. It doesn't have the ideal front to rear weight balance, but it doesn't seem to matter that it has 56% of the weight on the front tires. The center of gravity is really low. The transmission works really well. The shifter, the ergonomics, the steering is really quite nice. Yeah, it's a gutless turd of a car. That's, yeah, I guess you would call it a momentum car, but it just works. The ergonomics and the cabin works so much better for me than a Miata. I mean, with my height and girth, I fit in the seat really well. I've got, you know, tons of headroom above my head so I can wear a helmet. The seats hold you in pretty well, way better than Miata seats do. And I'm not like claustrophobic in here. I've got some room to breathe. In a Miata, I'm barely fitting under the roof, and there's nothing behind me. This has got a back seat now. Granted, you're not going to put anybody back there. Call it a luggage shelf, but it works. It's got a big roomy trunk. It's really quite nice to be only 200 pounds heavier than, say, like an NC Miata. It's pretty impressive. And they cost the same or less than a Miata, and you don't have the convertible top hassles. John at Vorshлаг's got an NB Miata. The top's just shredded. It's falling apart. You got to replace it every 10 years. This, you know, this is a real top. It makes for a much more rigid box structure for the car. I was at a TWS track event last weekend, and I saw an S2000 roll. Now, it had a hard top bolted on, but it did not crash well. The A-pillars totally collapsed. The driver was pretty badly injured. His back is wrecked. And I think if he would have been in a real car with a real top, it might not have crashed as badly. So I'm just not a fan of open top cars. Whenever we build a race car for a customer that has no top, we always insist on a cage and a hard top at it. Bolt on, I mean, no, not an easily removable one. So that's one big thing for guys that are going to go do road course events that the FR-S really has going for it, is it has a real roof. It's a really rigid chassis. The suspension is pretty good. It's a McPherson strut, multi-link rear. The control arm's a little flimsy, and we're going to work on this particular car. We're going to add the SVL parts control arms, which are much more rigid than the flexy noodle arms that come on this one. But if you look at a Miata, the control arms on that are pretty weak too. They're made similarly weak with a single-sided stamped steel stamping. So yeah, no big deal. The power issue we're going to deal with by putting an LS3 in it. That fixes all problems. So the 0 to 60 right now, not so great for a baseline stock car, 8.06 0 to 60, but I'm happy with the car overall. It was really fun on track. You could just throw the car around. It was super neutral. It didn't have any massive understeer, oversteer characteristics. Sure, it had a lot of lean and roll and dive and heave. It's got soft springs and skinny little 215 tires. And you put better tires on it, it's only going to make it more exaggerated movements. So the dive and lean and roll would be worse. So we're going to install some good MCS remote reservoir double adjustable shocks, and then go to really big wheels and tires. We're going to build this car around a 315 Rival S at all four corners with a big flare kit. So stay tuned. We'll have some fun with this car, and it's going to be transformed, and we're going to try to test it at every step along the way.